Hello, Nomad Sculpt, and this video is about uh, mask extraction in the negative direction to hollow out an object. So here's an example. So this object here is from a 3D scanner app, I think. Yeah, and this mesh here is the attempt to hollow it out. So you see here some problem zones, and it's not so easy. So because the negative mask extraction causes problems. So the goal is something here like this here. Sorry, not the inspector. Such a mesh. Or a clean mesh. So this is quadri-meshed, and for Android user this is not possible, but okay, we try to get it. So I start with a new scene. So okay, and I leave here the sphere, and for this example here, this is here the mesh. We download it or something, and we want to make it fine. So I drag and drop it to the scene, and when I add it to the scene, you see now here my sphere disappears. So yeah, first we have to clean here the scene and the size and the scaling and so on. And so this hollow mesh here I deleted because I want to work here with the original mesh. And in the gizmo settings here, you find here the move origin option. So now everything is gone. At the bottom you find here the reset thing. It's also possible, I think, here to press here the home button on the next to the view cube. Okay, so we are now in the front view, and this thing here is not aligned, and the size is too big, I think. So I use the ring here to make it smaller, and then I press again the home button, and here I found my sphere. So okay, now the size I think is correct for me, and so now I try to align this thing. Here you find a align option for the gizmo, and then I rotate the whole thing in the front view, and I try to find an orientation maybe like this here, or more like this. Okay, so this is correct. So I turn on the symmetry here. You see autosave. So here you see the center line of the symmetry plane, and so I try to find here the a point where we can mirror the whole object. So maybe a little bit more like this, and here. So I look at the back side. So check the front side again. No, this is not really symmetric, so I use this position here. And I try split and mirror here from right to left, let's look at this. So this is the smaller version, and I think from left to right, this is a little bit, yeah, other version. So, but it's now a symmetric object. So I'm happy. Okay, so here in the gizmo settings, you can now bake this whole thing. And you see here the gizmo is not in the center position of the mesh. So use the pivot and bring it to the center. So the align function, we don't need it at the moment anymore. So I select now my sphere and the other mesh. So to be sure, I press again move origin. So now it should be fine. And I bake it again. So the sphere we don't need anymore. So now my object is in the world center. It's symmetric and I'm happy with it. So at the top here, there's the symmetry option. I activate it for the object. Okay, here's a small dent. So this one I smooth out. Smoothing. Okay, and the rest of the mesh here a little bit smoothing. So yeah, sometimes the symmetry, now it's off, now I turn it on again. So backside. Smoothing is okay. So now I use the right view, right, and I long press on the view cube to lock the view so it doesn't rotate anymore. First, let's check the poly group here. Everything is one, or face group, sorry. It's one face group, it's correct, it's okay. Now I trim the mesh. So I trim here the top part away. So I use the polygon. So here we need a black point. So, and here also black point. And here's a curve. So this is the main shape, I think, here. For the trim, I deactivate the symmetry, so no symmetry for the trim. So I press the green dot. A very important thing is here the trim settings. So we have at the moment the legacy setting and we need the non setting. So when we trim now, trim. So when we look at the mesh, we see here such a floating trimmed off mesh. So we don't need this part here. So you find here the 3 dots menu and there's an option to separate the meshes. Press separate and then select the mesh and delete it. So we only need the torso like this here, completely hollow. So the red color is the inside of the mesh, the backside face. Here's a group node I delete, and I rename this as torso or maybe body. It's okay. Okay, the next thing is here the edge. The edge is, the trim is okay, but we can smooth it a little bit. And here in the smooth settings here, or in the settings of the smooth tool, there's a sticky vertex on border option. So when you use this checkbox here, it's not possible to smooth the edge. So checkbox off, and now the edge smoothing works. So symmetry on. So if you want here a sharp corner or something, let's go a few steps back like this here. Then don't smooth the edge. So only the other parts here. So I smooth the whole mesh a little bit. It looks nice. Okay, so now the part comes with a mask extraction. So we need the mask tool. So I clear here the height, and use the slider. Oh, first we have to mask the whole mesh. Tap on the screen, mask. So now use the slider in the negative direction so that the extraction is in the minus direction. And you see here some problems. So when you change here, when you use a division of 0, you get problems later. So use a higher division for this for the edge loops. Here, maybe something like this here. And you see here the problem zones. So for the extraction here, you see here the mesh comes through the other mesh. So, but we can't do anything against it. So, yeah. Now extract. So the first mesh we don't need anymore. Delete. Okay, so now we have to fix the whole thing here. And I go a step back, and at this point here, I clone the mesh, make it invisible. So this is the mesh later for the quad remesher. So I show you again then. So now extract. So this one I rename as quad. Okay. And here you see a problem. Here is a problem because we didn't mirror the mesh. So here again, so there's a small dent here. So I mirrored the mesh again, and then the mask extraction. Okay, so let's start with the problems. I activate the face group to see here the problem zones, and now we use the height tool. Yes, height tool. And you can tap on the face group on the outer mesh, then you only see the inner mesh at the moment. So like this here. And the easiest way to fix this is to trim it away. So use the trim tool and here use the legacy option. So you can set here the detail and let's use the lasso. So I lock here the view and lasso is active. I deactivate the symmetry, no symmetry at the moment. So let's start here with the lasso. And trim. Okay, so let's see what happened. Yeah. Okay. I try with a smooth tool to smooth here the mesh a little bit through the other mesh. So at this point it's yeah, we have to check here the filter settings if front facing vertex is active. So this is okay. And symmetry, yeah, turn on symmetry. I hide a part more, so I use the hide tool and I hide this part, wireframe off. So let's have a look inside the mesh. So here are, yeah, sorry, here are a few zones that causes problems. So let's try to smooth it out. And for the smoothing here, make sure here you can, when you activate the face groups, the smoothing works only on the face groups. So when you turn face groups off, you can smooth the whole mesh here, like this. So here, and check the other side. This edges here, I don't know where the problem is exactly. So the smoothing, yeah, now it should work. So there's a little dent, so okay. But the mesh is now okay. For the hide tool, we can, we can clear the hide. So now I check the wireframe and here are the next problem zones. So smooth tool and now activate the face groups here for the smooth tool. So now when you smooth here the face group here, and we can use a higher density, you can now smooth only the face group. Symmetry is active now, this is fine. So smoothing only this part. And now you see here this problem zone. And now the face group smoothing works. And you can fix it like this. So here's the other problem here in the mesh. I think we have to look to the other side. So this is the workflow without the quad remesher. So it's a little bit more, yeah, complex and not so nice. Okay, where's the problem thing here? Here. So I use the hide tool, tap on the mesh here, and I try to find here the problem. So I try to smooth it here from the inside. So now I think it's fixed. Sorry, I have to switch back to the smooth tool. So, yeah. Okay. So the rest is here, the inner part here with the other topology. So at this point I save. And now let's try to voxel remesh the whole thing here. And we can now use again the hide tool. Hide. So I hide the complete part here. Symmetry off, and I hide this part. And now I turn symmetry off again, on again, sorry. And I smooth this here. So oops. Okay. So for the face group smoothing, you can also use the round all brush here. So pick the mesh and smooth it. So now I think this is a nice mesh. So only the poly count is high. So when you have the quad remesher, you can now remesh here about 15,000 and remesh. Takes a few seconds. So wireframe off, view. So this is a nice mesh now. So you can see here the topology with a quad remesher. Everything is fine. Front view. Okay, so these problems with the mesh fixing and the thing here only happens because of this mesh here of the mask extraction. So here, when you use at this point the quad remesher, sorry, is the mask active? So when you use at this point here the quad remesher, so you get a nice topology here for this. And now when you use the mask, tap here and extract the mesh, you get not so much problems. So The same problem is here, but when we use the height tool here, it's much faster. So height is active, so now, and smoothing. So this part is fixed. So maybe use a little bit move brush. And the next thing is we can clear and smooth again. So we don't need so much intensity, so smoothing, inner mesh smoothing. And here smoothing. The smoothing too much. And a smaller radius. With the smoothing, it's sometimes a little bit tricky for the when the face group is active. I go a few steps back. So we can use round all, and here in the settings the face group filter here is off, and then we brush along, and then the mesh is smoothed. So only here a few parts need a little bit of rework. With a quadri mesher, it's a better workflow and a cleaner result. So, but it's only iOS, so now it's done. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Have fun with sculpting, and yeah, see you. Ciao.